Hello, my friends. Here is Geraldo Lemos Neto and Marco Gandra from Portal Saber Spiritismo in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. We are doing the program to know Spiritism number 111. And tonight, we are going to continue to study the life in the spiritual realm according to Spiritism. This is the third program with this subject. Welcome everyone to Kardec Radio, to Spiritism Dissemination and Discover Spiritism Network. Let's see this beautiful message from the Spirit of Emmanuel that is published in the book Deus Conosco in Portuguese, God with Us in English. It was written by Emmanuel, the spiritual guide of Chico Xavier, on the date of 11th of April 1945. And he stated, "Neither heavens nor immediate happy words, but we ourselves, with our virtues and defects, swimming in the waters of the universal struggle to make ourselves worthy of the Father who gave us life." So Emmanuel is talking to us that we must not have any fantasy around around the subject of afterlife, because we are not higher spirits. We are not blessed spirits that will go right to the top of the spiritual realm. We will face just ourselves in the immediate afterlife. And by ourselves, we must comprehend that he is talking about all our virtues and also all our defects. And we will certainly face those two states of minds and feelings. We will face our defects, and also we will face all our conquers, our virtues. And he is telling us that life is like swimming in an ocean of waters of the universal struggle to make ourselves worthy of the Father, our God, that gives us life. And this struggle continues in the afterlife. Now we are going to see Emmanuel talking about the book Nosso Lar, Our Home in English, and that was written by the spirit of André Luiz or Carlos Chagas through the mediumship of Chico Xavier. And it was published in 1944 in Brazil. It was psychographed in the year of 1943. And Emmanuel, in this very same book, Deus Conosco, God with Us, in the 7th of July, 1943, wrote about Nosso Lar. Let's observe the similar kind of service because the author intends to offer us every possible detail of his stay at a colony of transition among thousands of colonies of this nature, and different from each other, as he calls the attention for the organizational details that surrounds the city's owners. So Emmanuel is giving us the important idea that the city, the spiritual city of Nosso Lar, our home, that is equivalent to the city of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, as Chico Xavier used to tell us, and is in the higher atmosphere around 50 kilometers above the city of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. And he is telling us that Nosso Lar is just one colony of transition. It's just one spiritual city amongst thousands of others spiritual cities that surrounds Earth in every country, in every culture, and they differentiate one from each other with the backgrounds that they have, the spirits that inhabit there have from Earth, cultural differences, religions differences, scientific knowledge differences, ways of philosophy of living, also differences. And of course, that one spiritual city above one Indian city in India will differ very much from another spiritual city that high that is high above one Japanese city, and this Japanese spiritual city will differentiate it from a United States spiritual city, and that goes on. And of course, there is not a pattern. They are not equal at all, because as here on Earth, our cities, our metropolises are so different from each other, from China, from Brazil, from Argentina, from Mexico, from Canada, from the USA, from France, from the UK, from Italy, from Spain, from Russia, from Saudi Arabia, from Dubai, from the African countries, South Africa, Uganda, from Kenya, from Australia, and from New Zealand, and also from Thailand, and so on. As we have here on Earth, different cities with different backgrounds, different ways of living, different cultures, different beliefs, and different uh, society organization, different politics, different social abilities, different science abilities, so that this will also be encountered in the afterlife, so that the spiritual cities in the immediate afterlife, because we are talking about the umbral, about this plane of living that receives immediately us when we discarnate, when we die. And of course, we don't have the ways and the means to go to higher plans. So we go to this immediate plan that in Brazil we call the umbral, where Nosso Lar is, that André Luiz wrote about through Chico Xavier. And so that all of us, no matter what background and where we live, different nations, we will encounter a spiritual city, much alike we are used to live, we are used to understand here on Earth. And the spirit of Neo Lucio In the 18th of August 1943, while Chico Xavier was still psychographing the book Nosso Lar, or Our Home, wrote about this colony and this book. He wrote, "The suggestions in this book are immense, and it is a valuable program for all department of activities on earth. Without you feel the vibrations of your mind rise towards higher spheres." And this is important. That's why it is so imperative, so important that we study this kind of book, that we study the books of André Luiz, that we study the books from Chico Xavier's psychography, that we study the books of the Spiritist doctrine by Allan Kardec. Because while we are reading and meditating about those teachings, especially when we have discussions in our groups of family groups or relative books or groups, sorry, and also spiritist groups or centers, when we gather to study those kinds of teachings and higher knowledge that those books refer to, we don't feel it, but our mind is able to elevate. And for that reason, the vibrations of the higher spirits can come towards us and can influence our living nowadays. This saying of Neo Lúcio is in the book The Sowing of Light, or Sementeira de Luz in Portuguese. Here we see Chico Xavier in this Spiritist Center, Luis Gonzaga, the first one that he inaugurated in Pedro Leopoldo in 1927. This photograph is probably from 1945, 46. Now we see his mentor guide, Emmanuel, in the 8th of September 1943. And Emmanuel taught us about the Nosso Lar psychography. And he wrote, "We wish that the author of the book Nosso Lar can continue unraveling certain misunderstandings and putting the responsibility of man and putting the responsibility on man himself. It is not so easy to meet such efforts in the service of love toward the spiritual ascension." And this is very important because this was the first time that Emmanuel talked about that the works of the Spirit André Luiz would be in a continuum. And nowadays, we know that he wrote more than 40 books, and 16 of those books were specifically around the life after death, around the spiritual realm, around the relationship, the intimate relationship that we have with the discarnate spirits and their influence in our lives here in the earth crust. And so that he was wishing that André Luiz could continue unraveling certain misunderstandings, because before the works of André Luiz and before the works of Allan Kardec that illustrate us about life in the spiritual realm, uh, we much alike were kind of children of the spirit, all of us. We had a childish way of thinking about the life after death and the afterlife kingdom. We had so many fantasies, so many uh, childish understanding about the consequences of our doings here on earth after death. And that's why Emmanuel is telling us that André Luiz should continue to unraveling certain knowledge, more profound, more important to us, because we are now in the era of the spirit. We are not anymore child. We can say that regarding the spiritual uh, movement and the spiritual evolvement, we can say that humanity now on earth is surpassing the youth of spirituality. And because of that, we must understand the responsibility that are on our own shoulders. And of course, this saying is on the book Deus Conosco in Portuguese, and in English is God with us. And then Emmanuel uh, expressed his wishes. May Jesus allow André Luiz the edification of some more details of the spiritual construction already mentalized by those that guide us in the higher spheres. The educational work is very vast in these pages that had begun with Nosso Lar. And of course, we know that after Nosso Lar, there were a series of new books from 1943 until 1969 uh, that made this first 16 books of André Luiz a treaty of the spiritual realm. The first treaty about in regarding the knowledge, the higher knowledge, and the studies regarding the life after death. And that's why Emmanuel is telling us that the works of André Luiz was already mentalized by those that guide humanity in the higher spheres of earth. And I was talking one time with Chico Xavier himself and asked him if André Luiz was the effective writer of those books. And Chico Xavier told me that no, that André Luiz was just the messenger, because those works, those books, those teachings, those knowledge, all of the wisdom that were brought to us through André Luiz and through the hands of Chico Xavier. In reality, they were uh, constructed in the higher sphere of earth. And Chico told me that there were a commission of 12 wisdom men and those 12 wisdom men were the effective writers of those books. And I asked Chico, tell me who those men were, who those spirits were. And Chico just told me one of them, that is the spirit of Socrates. And the other 11, all of them, the 12, were spirits of great wisdom from ancient Greece that brought to Andrea Luiz their teachings, their lessons, and Andrea Luiz was the messenger to us so that we can understand that the works of Andrea Luiz regarding the life in the spiritual realm is a spiritual construction mentalized by these guides of the higher spheres, and this work meant to be an educational work for all of us, because the teachings and the knowledge and the wisdom are very vast in those pages that had begun with Nosso Lar. And of course, after Nosso Lar, we have messengers, we have missionaries of light, and so on. And Neo Lucio, a week after that, in the 12th of August of 1943, he's saying is in the book The Sowing of Light, Sementeira de Luz, told us that these pages prepare us more efficiently and store more real notions about the efforts by the discarnated spirits. The spirit of comprehension will be more productive, more spontaneous in view of the short revelations, however, uniquely expressive revelations. So Neo Lucio is telling us that those pages initiated with Nosso Lar, our home, has the intent to prepare human society, to prepare the ones that are incarnated on the earth crust more efficiently to face the reality of afterlife. And they store in us more real notions about the efforts also that our guides, mentors, friendly spirits do regarding our protection, regarding our evolution. They are interested in our evolution because if we do evolve here on Earth, we will have a better society. We will prepare a better world for them to reincarnate in the next decades or centuries, where they will, by their possibility, their opportunity to come back to Earth and live here in a better world, so that they are pretty much interested that we evolve. And because of those teachings by the spirit of André Luiz and Chico Xavier, our spirit of comprehension are more productive and also more spontaneous when we face death, when we face sufferings, when we face truth, when we face all kinds of situations that enlighten us here on in the life on earth and prepare us to face the afterlife. And although Neo Lucio is saying that in their perspective, the works of André Luiz are short revelations, it does not mean that they are not expressive. In much the opposite. Those books, those works are uniquely expressive and very much relevant for our understanding about the life in the spiritual realm. So that was the program tonight, to know Spiritism number 111, and we talked about the life in the spiritual realm according to Spiritism. That was the third program, and we'll see you further in the weeks ahead with the continuation of this study. You are all very welcome to accompany me in this study. Thank you for listening and watching. I hope to see you soon. Bye bye and have a good night.